sun will shine through. Tell me your story. When that keeps me falling asleep on your own. Maybe our hearts will stop mourning, 'cause tragedy's boring now that I found you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Touchline Talk with your boy LNobbins. I've just realised I've selected the wrong profile, so if anyone redeems the Holland printer, it's going to be a stinky time. So if that does happen, I apologise. It might also be why the frame rate's a little bit odd today, because I've selected the wrong profile. Haha, I'm so competent as a streamer and a content creator. How are we all doing? Hope we're all doing fine today. Initially, I was going to just have this stream be a Newcastle preview stream and also a Spurs hangover stream, I guess, where we spoke about that a bit more. I have already done quite a lot of content on the Spurs game, so we can obviously still talk about it, but there was a video that I was promising, and I said that we would do after the end of the transfer window, and I completely forgot about it. And it's not an original format. It's something that we've done a few times on this channel before when we've tried to assess where City's squad is at. And it's essentially taking what squad we have right now or what the squad will be next season and comparing it to a squad from a previous season. Usually that is either the treble winning year or the 17 to 2019 period of City. That's not necessarily just to lament and go, oh, look at how good we used to be, blah, 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 blah. It's more so to identify, okay, this is what worked, this is what we now have, what are the gaps in the squad that needs to be addressed, and how can that inform squad building, that sort of thing. Hopefully that's an interesting idea. I do have my tactics board, I do have all the players from the 18-19 season also, so please stick around and hopefully we will enjoy that together. Leave a like on the video as you are coming on. It's free. It helps support the channel. If you would like to go the extra mile, you guys know what you can do. You can support the YouTube membership like the beautiful Yanko has, for example. You can become an ultra of the channel, or you can sign up to the Patreon. That's patreon.com/LNobbins. You get exclusive videos on both of those platforms. But how are we all doing today, this evening? Let me know. Hello, sub. How are you? We got Naveen. We got Natando. We got Raphael. We got this little bastard, Nobbins. Hello, Yanko. Hello, Fireborn. Thunder_6954. Odds on Fabian Delph respect, says Lemez. And yes, Sarah says pay rent. Yes, pay that like rent. Absolutely. If you don't, then you're a fraudster, and we're not going to have a good time. We are still going to discuss the Newcastle game because I thought it was tonight. Again, I'm just so wrong. It's tomorrow night instead. We will be live on Twitch tonight where we will be watching the Arsenal semi-final and playing some Football Manager. So make sure to join me tonight on Twitch, twitch.tv/LNobbins. Hello, guys. Hello, hello. We got Mental God, Shahin, and Ryan. Also, lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all. Without further ado, shall we... Oh, what's this? Sorry, Quint says, can you first start who we need to sell / let go and keep who we need to buy and then build a lineup from there? Well, I suppose we'll be looking at that. That's the purpose of this exercise, I guess, is to, in the first instance, compare and contrast, and then in the second instance, identify the gaps in the squad and go, well, we had that player then, we don't have that player anymore. That's therefore the player we need to identify. So that is going to be the function of today's exercise. So that should hopefully be a thing. Cool. Hello, Fenway. I spent too much time over the last 48 hours trying to figure out tactics of how we can be more press resistant when teams collapse on our midfield. Hey, Fenway, that was me in the summer, matey. That was me nearly every single day. Well, not every single day in the summer. That was me every single day of what, early to mid-August, I'm going to say. There or thereabouts, that's what I was thinking. The knobheads are here, says Post. We love that. We love that. Cool. Right. It will extend beyond this as well. We'll chat about many other things also. I just want to get started with it just because it's a nice, hopefully fun way to start the stream. Again, it's not meant to be taken too seriously. It's not
meant to go, oh, look at how good we were a few years ago. That the quality of White's player is no longer the desired level.
That's not the point of today's show. It's just to try or to directly compare profiles. It's more so to identify gaps in traits / profiles / whatever it may be, or just like general positions. That's all. So it's an exercise rather than something to be taken as gospel, and hopefully a bit of fun for a stream, because we have done these streams before and you guys have enjoyed them. So that is the function for today. And again, I want to talk about the Newcastle preview. We'll pick our team for the Newcastle game. Lots of injuries for City. Shirky probably out. Doku definitely out. And so on and so on. But what we have here is Manchester City's squad from 2017 through to 2019 on the right-hand side. The reason why I like to use this squad is because, in my opinion, this is the best squad in Premier League history. Therefore, the bar is incredibly high. Okay? I do believe that's the best squad ever. I've not included players from the right side of the board who did not get at least 10 appearances in the 18-19 season. At least 10. So hence, there is no Eric Garcia and there is no Sandler because they did not get the requisite appearances. Okay? That's the starting point with the team on the right. Everyone got at least 10 Premier League appearances in the 18-19 season. On the left, what we have is not actually what City is right now. What we have on the left is what City will probably be next summer based on the players who we know basically are gone. So I've not included Stones. I've not included Ake. I've not included Oscar Bob. I've not included Kovacic. I've not included Bernardo because I believe that all those players are either definitely going to go because their contracts are expiring, such as Stones, of course, Bob, because he's actually gone. But even players where there's a 1 year still on them, does anyone realistically think that Ake is going to be here next? And Bernardo as well, he's going to expire. But Ake's got another year in the summer. Does anyone really think that he is going to be here next season despite having 1 year on the contract? Does anyone think that Kovacic is going to be here next season despite having 1 year on the contract or be used at all? Like, will it be a Calvin Phillips situation given his injury? It seems very unlikely to me. Hence, just to simplify things, I've not included them. I've also not included any players on loan. So I've not included Echeverry. I've not included Hayes. I've not included Barr. If we really want to, we can say, okay, Hayes is Eric Garcia as an example, but I don't really want to get into that nitty-gritty. I'm more so focused on like the players who are in the first team and the players that we deem to be senior players or there or thereabouts. Again, they're getting like, 10 players, whatever. And yeah, Fenway, of course. Maybe players will get an extension here or there, of course, but just for the sake of this argument, I'm going to assume that those players will not be here next season. Just because it simplifies things. Otherwise, it makes it a little bit messy. Probably makes it a little bit messy. That's a good point. I've also not included Naipan. Apologies if you are a Naipan believer, and perhaps he will be good, but I'm not including Naipan for the purposes of this, and that's mainly because I actually forgot about him, in all honesty. So, there's no Calvin Phillips either, okay? Sorry to all the Calvin Phillips truthers, but he's not here. Okay. Step number 1 of this exercise is to try to, not perfectly, try to just partner up these players just so that we can identify gaps in the squad and where we might want to hit in the summer. We already probably know this is hopefully going to be a helpful visual representation as a bit of fun. Yeah, there's also no Elaine. There's no Elaine. If we want Elaine here to be here, then fine. Let's pop, Mangala and Eric Garcia and Sandler in the squad on the right-hand side. Tom Little, respect. Chill. Respect, yeah? So I'm not included all those people who he may end up selling. There's no Fooney here either or any other academy players. Let's start doing this then, shall we? So let's start from the back, goalkeepers. Don, is Edison. Obviously, that's not a hard comparison to make. First team goalkeeper, that's fine. Trafford is Bravo. Someone said Trafford's probably not going to be here next season. I agree. Whatever. Another second choice. Irrelevant. Okay. So that's that, first of all. What I then want to do is do what we did where we were like, okay, these are the diamonds, blah, 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 blah. Let's go to centre-backs now, shall we? We've got Diaz. We've got Gvardiol. We've got Gahey. Actually, I'm going to put in order of seniority in my head. We've got Gahey. We've got Kusanov. I can now pop these players back over here. So who was that? We had Laporte. Laporte was Gvardiol, sort of. No, he actually was. Laporte was Gvardiol. Company would have technically been Diaz, even though he was obviously very injury-prone in this period. Stones would be Gahey. Otamendi would be Kusanov. Those are the closest comparisons I think I can make there. And I think I've run out of centre-backs, have I? Yeah. So, okay, so far I've got quite a nice little comparison going on here. That's pretty, and even like profile-wise, I know we're not comparing just profile, but there's some overlaps here. There's a lot of Otamendi and Kusanov. There is a lot of Company in Diaz. There's a lot of Laporte in Gvardiol. Maybe there's not as much Stones and Gahey, but homegrown can play either side, so perhaps that is a thing. Okay, fullbacks now. Right now we have Aït-Nouri. This is where it gets a bit tricky, because we have Nunes, and we have O'Reilly, who can also play in midfield, and we have Lewis, who is really more of a midfielder. So maybe I'll like try to actually do the other fullbacks first, because that's a little bit more straightforward, perhaps. Although even that's not necessarily the easiest. Okay, Mendy is Aït-Nouri. They're both left backs. They're both left-footed. That makes sense. I know that Mendy was injury prone and his knee died, but he was brought in to be like the main first choice left back, wasn't he, Mendy? So that's what Aït-Nouri is in my head. He's been brought in to be the main first choice left back. Who was our backup left back? Well, again, because Zinchenko was hanging around. Zinchenko was in the squad at that point, as was Delph. This is where it gets a little bit sticky. This is where it does get a little bit sticky. I think what I want to do is compare Delph to O'Reilly, because both homegrown, first of all, and I know it's not really relevant, but I'm trying to justify it in my head for my own sanity. Both left-footed, both technically actual midfielders, but both primarily used at fullback in their respective squads. Both sometimes played alongside the defensive midfielder / instead of the defensive midfielder. So I think that it's... I think that is the comparison to make. Yeah, Delph and O'Reilly is the one. Yeah, if you guys think there's a better comparison, by the way, even though it's not the total point of the exercise, please do let me know in the chats. They both played for City. Amazing. It's the basics of football. It's the basics. That's both their catchphrases. And what I also think I want to do here, because I think this does this comparison become a little bit more manageable? Lewis and Zinchenko, once again, they're both technically midfielders, but they have both been used at fullback, and there's also question marks about whether they're even good enough for the whole squad. So that might be the comparison to make, in fairness, Zinchenko and Lewis. I'm not 100% on that. I might be doing that in a second. Let's have a look at the right backs. And this, I think, is where I'm going to suggest there's the first discrepancy in the squad proper of comparison. Because we have Walker, main right back. We have Danilo, auxiliary fullback, auxiliary player. It's technically the second choice right back. This is where it gets a bit tricky, because we don't really have a Walker and a Danilo in this squad. We have Nunes, who, in my mind, obviously in the now, he is Walker, but realistically, what I want Nunes to be is Danilo. Even though I think Nunes has been playing a lot better this season, I do believe that he should not be our main right back option, even though I do like how much he has progressed. To me, that is a very upgradable position. So I'm going to suggest that that is the first discrepancy in the squad. I like the idea of Nunes being a Danilo, i.e. a backup fullback and an option. But I think that that is the first area where perhaps City can look to fill a gap. So right now, sure, we can say that Nunes is Walker and, I don't know, Lewis is Danilo. But I think that if the idea is to try to identify a gap, for me, that is the first gap that I've identified. For the sake of easiness, I'm going to, because these are a bit of hybrid players, I am going to say that Zinchenko is Lewis. Outside of that, I think that's okay. So I'm going to say that's the first gap. Unfortunately, I can't name players. So we might have to rename that. So for now, I'm going to just have that there. So that's a gap. If that highlighting yellow annoys us, I can remove that. So that's what I'm going to say. There's a big difference there, yeah. I think that's reasonable. That's an upgradable position, whether in the short or longer term. That's annoying me, actually. I'm going to take that yellow off. It's pissing me off. I'll tell you what I'll do. Just because I can't rename it whilst also showing it because of technical limitations, because I'm not that good at the internet, guys. So, there we go. Right. I'm going to suggest that that is a new right back, therefore. For empty players... Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I can do that. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. So, let me just very quickly change that. Shall I make them black? I think I'll do that. Yes. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. And then I just need to... Oh, well, that's made the goalkeepers different. 1 second, guys. 1 second. I am technology. I am Iron Man. Do you get me? Okay. There we go. Great suggestion. Great suggestion. Who suggested that? I don't know who suggested... Oh, there you go. Well done, Fireborn. Excellent suggestion. Okay, so now... Boom. Okay. Gaps are going to be identified with these black things. Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with pieces of scraps. I'd suggest that's the first gap if we're comparing them. Okay. So that's the goalkeeper situation. That's the defense. And the goalkeepers in defense, certainly for like first teamers, has definitely compared well. The first noticeable gap is at right back. That's no shock to anyone. We all know that we've needed this position for a minute. So that's the state of play there. Let's now move on to the midfield, and this is maybe where it gets a little bit trickier. The forwards are going to be quite straightforward. In fact, I might just do the forwards right now because of how easy that's going to be. We had Aguero, we had Jesus. Now we have Haaland and Marmoush. That's pretty good going as for comparisons. There's not too much to assess there. We've got two forwards. I know that Marmoush can play out wide as well, whatever. So to be fair, so did Jesus. But generally speaking, Aguero is the main striker. Haaland's the main striker. Jesus is the backup to Aguero. Marmoush is the backup to Haaland. So the forwards are quite easy to do also. In fact, I think the midfield might be the trickiest one. I might be tempted to do wingers next. In fact, yeah, I am going to do that just for my own brain. Sterling, Sane, Mahrez, in before everyone laments how good our wingers were. That's not the purpose of today. Bernardo technically also played there, but as for exclusive wingers, not necessarily. We might need to do that depending on how we get on. So what have we got here? We've got Doku. We've got Semenyo. And we have Savio as our out-and-out wingers, if you will. So that is the thing. It gets a bit complicated because Shirky has played out wide as well, but there's a player who I'm going to be comparing him to who's a bit more relevant to compare across. So I'm going to, even though I think the Shirky technically should probably be included in the forward category, because there's another player I would like to directly compare him to, I'm actually going to pop him in the midfield category, even though I don't necessarily agree with that myself. But you see what I mean. You'll see what I mean, hopefully. Okay, defensive midfield is really easy. It's Fernandinho, it's Rodri. Like that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? That's pretty straightforward. The main number 6 was Fernandinho. The main number 6 now is Rodri. That's fine. That's safe. You can go home with that. And that's safe. I forgot Carson Bettinelli. No! This live stream is now void! So, what have we got now? We have, I think these are the easiest comparisons to make. De Bruyne and David Silva. That's Shirky and Foden. That's not a problem for me. Again, Shirky and Foden aren't as good as De Bruyne and David Silva. But as for what we are comparing, I think that's quite an easy comparison to make. I'm actually going to pop them down there just for my own brain. It's this middle bit where it's a little bit sketchy for me. Because now what do we have? We've got Bernardo Silva from 2018-19. And I guess 17 as well. We've got Ilkay Gundogan. And we have Foden, who was very young. I've included Foden here because the terms of engagement were, did they make at least 10 appearances? And they did. Maybe this is where it gets a bit trickier because could we just say that Foden is like Echeverry or whatever? I don't know. Nico and Reinders. Who are these players? I thought that Reinders was going to be Gundogan. To be fair, I also thought that when we signed Nico, he was going to be Gundogan. Now, Nico has been closer to Gundogan than what... It's a good point, Jack. He probably would have been Bob, wouldn't he? Yeah, but we've obviously got rid of him. Nico has actually been closer to what Gundogan was based off their City careers so far, i.e. filling in for Rodri. That's what Gundogan did. That's what Nico has done. I do still believe that the two of them working in tandem would be a very justifiable midfield to go with. Reinders is a bit of an odd one out if we're comparing it like for like. So I'm going to say that Nico is actually been most similar to Gundogan. And then we got like the weird... This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Maybe I shouldn't include Foden because... But then I can't include Mendy because Foden actually had more Premier League appearances than Mendy, so it doesn't quite work, does it? I don't know. Because he was technically a senior player back then. I don't know if to... Should I be including Foden for the purposes of this comparison, guys, or shall I get rid of him? He got 13 Premier League appearances in 2019. That's why I've included him, but should I get rid of him? Just for sake of comparison, because I guess he would be compared to Bob or someone like that, but Bob's obviously gone. So what do you guys reckon? I can say Foden is Reinders. Fairs. It's a bit of a it's not a perfect comparison, but again, that's not necessarily the point. That's not necessarily the point. So I guess that's fine. I guess that is fine. In which case, we have one odd one out here. And that is what Bernardo was. And again, that works out quite nicely for what we have been saying is missing from the squad. And that is... We need another midfielder. Obviously. If I think that Bernardo's going and Kovacic is going. This is very nice and symmetrical, I've just noticed. Look at how pretty I've made this, guys. Look at how pretty I've made this. So, what does that mean? It means that we've basically confirmed what we already knew, that the two main gaps in the squad, sorry, are a right back and another all-round midfielder. My OCD loves it, yeah. I did make it symmetrical. It's very lovely. I know I keep having a go at squad building, and I don't think it's necessarily been acceptable over the past couple of years. But I think I'm allowed to believe both things. I think I'm allowed to believe that the squad building hasn't been good, but I still don't think we're that far away. I don't think we're that far away. The question now is, certainly in terms of bodies, we're only a couple of players away. I guess then the question becomes, because I think Quinton's just said there are gaps in quality. And I suppose there are. This is the best squad in Premier League history, though. So the bar isn't that. It wasn't necessarily to compare quality. It was more so to compare, like, I guess, volume and type as well. And certainly positions. Because, of course, let's be honest, guys, we're never going to have a midfield again of De Bruyne and David Silva. That's not going to happen, realistically, in our lifetime. I think De Bruyne's the best midfielder in Premier League history. I think David Silva's like top 3, perhaps, as well. It's very unlikely we're going to ever be able to hit that standard, to be honest with you. That's quite high. I think we did very well and we peaked, essentially. The aim isn't to replicate it outright. So, what am I trying to say here? Yeah. The good news is that we aren't that far off, in my opinion. But we have to get the next 2 absolutely spot on, clearly. Because the gaps that aren't there are pretty significant. I.e., Bernardo was pretty fucking good in 2019. And Walker was pretty fucking good in 2019. So there are big gaps to fill. Morgan Gibbs-White would have been really interesting, Thunder. Because he probably would have been a very good replacement, like for Bernardo. Even though they are quite different, they're also quite similar in ways. Because Gibbs-White can play off the right. He can also play centrally. He's very versatile in that sense. He will always run around and put in the defensive work as Bernardo will. But he's also he's a bit more direct/creative than Bernardo, but he's not necessarily got the temperament of Bernardo. So there are similarities, there are differences. What I want to do now, maybe we can have a chat about the quality situation. We can see, right, he was a star player. What do we have now? What do we need to do? But I don't know how useful that would be, actually, because this isn't a very fair bar to have a look at. What do you guys think? What do you guys reckon as to this exercise? What do you reckon? Hello, Photon, how are you? Larry says Elliot Anderson. Adrian says it looks cute. Right back and midfield missing. Would a fullback that can play right back and left back be better for that role, says Larry? Which role's that, sorry? Too much symmetry, that's crazy. Difference is younger players with the potential versus experienced veterans. That's something to note as well. Yes, the squad is very young. It is one of the youngest in the Premier League, and it's certainly way younger than what it was a couple years ago. So that's a very good point, isn't it? That's a very good point. Not concerned about quality. As these young players mature, they become better. True. True. Strikers are better now, and the defenders are better as well, says Yash. I think that's a fair point, you know? I think that the defenders, the collection of defenders we have now is probably better than it was, because you got to remember, this wasn't a Vincent Kompany from 2012. This was a company who was still very good, but was in and out of the side and all that sort of thing. Stones hadn't yet hit the heights of treble-winning Stones. Otamendi was inconsistent in this period, excellent, but he was inconsistent. Laporte was gorgeous. But Gavardio is Gavardio. So I do believe that the centre-backs are better. I do actually take that point. I think that a combination of Hall and Marmouche is one could I don't know about that. Maybe not. Maybe not. The midfield's a different conversation because that... Right. I've had about 4 people knocking on my door. No, I'm not answering it. How many parcels is Mrs. Nobbins ordering? What are you doing? You starting an online shop? No. No, I'm not answering it again. No. You have to leave it in the garden or something. Pissing me off. Anyway, Mrs. Nobbins, stop knocking on my door. I'm not in, okay? Yeah, they're knocking on the fucking window. Leave me alone. Hello? What if it's not a delivery person? What if I'm about to get, like, attacked? The white van as well. He's pulled up in our driveway as well. Doing? Anyway. Got distracted then. What's going on? I forgot what I was doing. Yeah, I was comparing defence, wasn't I? Yeah, so the centre-backs, I do agree now are better. Full-backs, if we signed a new right-back, it's tricky because they're not... No, the full-backs then were better, let's be real. Midfield is obviously not really a fair comparison. One could argue about the forwards. Obviously, the wide players, that is a thing. Yes, someone swatted me. Yeah. I am upstairs, but I can still hear them knocking on the window, though. Right, anyway, what's going on? What is going on? Cancel the credit cards as Fireborn. I feel more leadership, especially Vinny to Diaz and throughout the rest of the squad. And I guess that does come with age as well, in fairness, doesn't it? This squad is a lot more experienced and was ready to win. I mean, this team won everything, didn't it? I mean, it didn't win the Champions League, but it should have won. But for bullshit refereeing, it wins the Champions League as well. It just does, okay? It just does. I'm sorry. If we get to the final, I don't give a fuck. We beat, and we do get to the final because we're beating fucking Ajax in the semi-final. If the referee didn't shaft us against Spurs, then we're beating Ajax in the semis, and we're beating Liverpool as well because they didn't even beat us that year. So I'm calling it. I'm calling it, guys. I'm calling it. Right. What was going on after I got swatted? Oh god. There isn't a right back we could sign that could. Yeah, exactly. So we'd have to sign a younger one. Savio might play better with Semenyo. One can't dribble, one can't shoot. Brilliant. Baby Canate, hello. Oh look, Llorente's hand is actually part of his head. Yeah. Such bullshit. I got so annoyed at that game, man. You don't understand. And of course, that was the year of VAR, and they still didn't fucking use it, right? Insane. Oh no, they did use it, and we got shafted with the offside. Amazing. We ain't getting Anderson. We're promoting Naipan. I do now think Pep's tactics work better with the Aguero Jesus striker than Haaland, despite Haaland being a better pure 9. You might be right, Fenway. At the age of the players, all questions will be answered. It's called a rebuild for a reason. Yeah, I'm not going to add the ages because I can't be asked, but you're absolutely right that people talking about the quality differences, I repeat, that's not the purpose of the exercise. This, what we see on the left, is very different to what we have on the right. Who knows what Doku and Savio will become in a few years' time? Who knows how much better Shirky can become? Foden and Hall and all these players who have not yet hit their physical prime yet, whereas you compare that to players who are either in their physical peak or just peaked in this period. So even though Sterling and Sane weren't at their physical peak, this was their actual peak. They didn't get much better. Well, Sane certainly didn't after this period. So that is a thing to note as well. That's a thing. We got shafted not by the offside but by the handball goal. Yeah. we're comparing players today, says Potato Potato. I mean, I guess we are, because that's all we can do, but I think that that's also got to be taken with a pinch of salt, because if you sign Doku and you sign Savio, you don't sign them for the same reason you sign Mahrez. The age argument can't annoy you, though, because it has to. It is valid. You don't sign Doku to be Mahrez. When Mahrez was signed, he was already 25, 26, had however many years in the Premier League, and had won Player of the Year. When Savio was signed, he had 1 year in a European top flight season and was 20 years old. So you do have to bring age into account, because it is very, very relevant. If you don't bring age into account, then you're not going to have a good time and you're going to get upset. So you do have to talk about age. You do have to look at the wider context, in fairness. What I was going to say on that is that an error/issue that City have made, whereby they signed too many young players all at once and they banked on all of them flourishing immediately, but that hasn't necessarily happened. Hence, is that why we've gone for a more experienced player like Ant to couple with and complement Savio and Doku, who are younger players who are still progressing and getting better. Maybe that's something to think about. I think you have to take into account the levels of the players then compared to now. Rodri, 6% of the other Rodri. Foden's lower down to effectively a full player missing, says Sunday League. Yeah. I mean, Shirky isn't De Bruyne, and like Foden isn't David Silva. We do know that. Doku's our future Henri. Oh my gosh. Bring Mahrez back? No. Talent for talent, other than right back, we're not that far off. The problem is the chemistry and the skills weaknesses in the squad. And I think for me, this is also like what's, because I was on LNobbins yesterday, and I said I think a big issue is the squad building, and someone said, do you really not think these players are good enough? But that's not really my issue or concern. My issue is more so this, that the players on this side, all of these players here, yeah, I'm going to say like every single one, they all work very well together. Hence, they succeeded. Yeah? There was a very set style of play, obviously, within a classic Guardiola philosophy, and it was the definition of what we consider Guardiola's football to be. Hence, it dominated the league, and it should have dominated Europe as well, but hey, we got shafted in that sense. That year, anyway. Everyone's reading from the same hymn sheets. Does that make sense? I don't think the same can be said for all of these players, though. I don't think all of these players mesh well with one another. And maybe now I could go through the players and consider which one I believe could do work together and do complement one another, and which maybe don't. I think that's maybe the big issue for me, is that some of these players do make sense together. Absolutely they do. And maybe they will all make sense when we add in these missing pieces. Maybe that will be the glue. Maybe that's all it is to make it all make sense. Until we get those actual names in, it's hard for me to assess and judge whether that is the case. And I think that is where we've stumbled over the past year or so. Certainly this year anyway. Last year we can say we just didn't have the quality and we had all the injuries and we just didn't have the bodies and blah, 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 blah. But this year that's a bit less of an excuse. It's a bit less of an excuse this year because, okay, we still have had some injuries, but we didn't start the season with having a load of injuries. I know Gvardiol is now out, but the issues that we have had have basically been here since the start of the season. So there are maybe like two ways that we can think about how are City playing this season. I think I need to. I'm just going to get rid of the players on the right, just because they're not useful for my next explanation. So say goodbye everyone to our domestic trebles and centurions. I'm just going to get rid of these lads, just because we've made our point with the comparisons. Hopefully that was a useful visual representation of where City's squad was / where it is at now. It was just meant to be used as a guide, of course. So, what do we have? I'm going to say that there are... I'm simplifying this a lot. But I'm going to say that based on what the squad is now, there are two camps. And those camps are, again, massive oversimplification here, so please don't overanalyze. Those, and I'll come to the chat properly in a second, apologies. I can't take them away from User's Bicycle. Those two camps are a more traditional mould of what we believe Pep's City has been / should be, whatever, versus what City are perhaps pivoting towards, i.e. relying more so on a transitional game, being a bit more direct, having less of an emphasis on out-and-out supreme control, etc., etc. Over-analysis on the way. There's going to be some overlap as well. Can I, Oh, I can't make a perfect circle. I'm going to do a Venn diagram, guys. Do you guys like Venn diagrams? I'm going to do one. I'm going to use the center circle as one where they overlap, actually. That's a good utilization, isn't it? Yes, look at this. Unfortunately, they are the same color. I did not make this board with the idea of using these circles as Venn diagrams, so you're going to have to accept that it's not going to be perfectly visual, but that wasn't the purpose of this tactics board. But hey, we're having different things. In fact, let me just do different titles as well. Give me a second. I think I can put words here as well. So I'm gonna say, what do I want to title these? Like what? Traditional, maybe? Old and new, do you think? What would be good titles for what I'm trying to say here? There's one camp where it's a bit more direct. There's one camp where it's a bit more... maybe controlled, would you say? Direct versus control, perhaps? Maybe that's a good way to go. Perhaps? I don't know. Let me know. I think that's reasonable. I think that's a good thing. Right. Possession versus Josh, what the fuck? Okay. I think that's good. Again, it's just a fun exercise. Please, no one screenshot this and go, ow. Nobbins doesn't think that Haaland can work in a control-based system, but that's what the treble year was. That's not the fucking point. I'm talking about, like, what is the player, you know, what's going to, like, get the best out of them, I suppose, and what are they, really? So, the easiest one, in my opinion, is to say that Donnarumma is more of a direct vibe. His ball playing is getting a lot better, and that's lovely, and I hope it continues to get better. But what is the player at their core? It's a player who you would not normally associate with being part of a really tidy set build-up structure necessarily. So I'm going to say that Don goes in there. As for that, Trafford's a bit trickier because he's not necessarily illustrated that's what he is. But I think that's what he would be if he played like more consistently. And I think that the idea of the signing was to be that. So I think I am personally going to put Trafford in there as well, even though he's not Edison. But hopefully that still makes some sort of sense. Hopefully that still makes some sort of sense. I'm trying to think of like what the play styles that complement these players essentially. And maybe I'll get rid of the overlap just for my own brain because it's making me struggle. Marmouche, I would suggest, is more of a direct player. He's someone who will thrive in that type of environment, one could argue. I think Shirky can do both, but generally speaking, I would say he would be in this camp more so. That's a tricky one. Again, this is where it's a thing. It could do that. And actually, for now, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to say there is overlap, but I might come to that later. That's what I'm going to say. What else have we got? What else are we saying? I think that Rodri, generally speaking, is going to be a player that you associate with control. Do let me know if you guys disagree on anything, by the way. Please, let me know. I'm going to say that I think Foden is definitely more so in control. I think that Semenyo is more direct. You guys see the Donnarumma Italy rumours? Oh, that was from a while ago. Yeah. The centre-backs are a bit tricky, although I would actually say that Gvardio's definitely more so control and build-up. 100%. Nori is probably this. I think that Reinders, even though he's like really good at crashing the box and whatnot, I still really think he's more so suited to this style of play, where you defend by having the ball a lot, rather than it being like a back and forth. Maybe that's what I should have called it. Maybe I should have called it like basketball versus not. I don't know. I don't think these titles are very helpful now I think about it. I don't think direct and control is really what I'm saying. I don't know. It's just meant to be a bit of fun. I'm overanalyzing it, yeah? Lewis is definitely control, 100%. Haaland's way more direct. Doku's, I think Doku's going to be a player who thrives more so in a control game state. Tiki versus Taka is great. That's what I should have called them. That's what I should have called them. I'll move to the middle in a second, but I think for now, just for my own brain, I'm just going to do this. Savio is, again, it's tricky because he's probably a bit of both, isn't he? But I'd say that generally, he would probably be flourishing here. I'd say maybe Gahey can do both. And I'm going to have to do both, aren't I? So there's too many boths here. There's way too many boths here. Although I do think that... No, that's not... Because they can all technically do both, for God's sake. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just shitting at myself. I don't agree. Gahey's really good on the ball. But he's also good against Stuckins, so I'm going to say that, actually. I don't care. Diaz, he fucking loves box defending, doesn't he? I'm going to say that. I don't care. Yeah. 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 There we go. I don't think this is actually very useful. I've just realised how like shit this exercise has been. I apologise for wasting all of your time. I don't think the titles I've done are very useful. There are some players though who I do think aren't really necessarily. There are some players who will overlap. Centre backs, it's largely irrelevant for the centre backs. That's fine. You know, that's fine. I don't really care about the centre backs. But I think, generally speaking, if you want to get the best out of Semenyo, you go a bit more direct. If you want to get the best out of Marmoush, you go a bit more direct. If you want the best out of Don, you go a bit more direct. If you want the best out of Hall, and you go a bit more direct. I think O'Reilly's tech is probably that sort of player as well, to be honest. I think Nunes is that sort of player as well. Whereas if you want to slow the game down, again, Shirky can still do well in that game state, as can Foden, as can all these players really, but I think they do more so flourish in a more slow / controlled game state, rather than being one where it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. That's Nico O'Reilly. Yeah. There you go. Don't know if I even agree with my own conclusion here. Don't think the titles are very good, sorry. Ryan's is this direct, though. I think it's been direct for City, maybe, going forwards, but I do actually think that he thrives in a more controlled game state, in all honesty. Because if it turns into second balls and going second balls and duels and basketball and having to do that side of the midfield game, I think that he struggles. Whereas if you defend with the ball, I think Reinders has a much better time. Yeah, they do both. A lot of these players do both well, but it's more so like what is playing to their strengths. And generally speaking, I would argue that if you are playing a more traditional Pep style, what we think is a traditional Pep style, where the emphasis is on being a fantastic technician and the emphasis is on you want to have the ball all the time, you don't want it to be a basketball game, then you have these players. Whereas you got players who are, and that does not mean that these players aren't good in transition, I'll repeat that. But a player like Marmoush and Semenyo and Haaland, certainly, are you necessarily getting the most out of their traits by slowing the game down like that? Perhaps you're not. So they probably prefer a faster game. Yeah. That's not set in stone. That's not absolute. Please do not take that as gospel. It was just like a fun exercise. And what does it mean? I'd like us to probably pick a fucking side. I think all the players. Here's what I would actually say. I would say that all of the players in control, apart from maybe like Lewis. Yeah, literally maybe just Lewis. I would say all of these players can actually go here. That's what I would say. I think they can all technically do both. Even though I would argue that they would be better over here. I think apart from Lewis, they can do a bit of both. In my opinion, it's just not as optimal. Oh my god. Savio Nunes, get off each other. Guys, it's not that sort of stream. However, can all of these players on the left play like this on the right? I don't think Don can. I think Semenyo could, even though it's not optimal. I think Haaland can, even though it's not optimal. That's still fine. Doku. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't even know what my conclusion is there. I think I got lost a little bit. I got lost a little bit with the exercise there. I'm sorry, I don't really know what I'm doing. I think I'm overtired. Oh, gosh. God, we've been live for an hour. That's crazy. Hello? Doesn't feel like an hour at all. Heated rivalry season going on there. Oh, that's a good point, Naveen, yeah. Maybe, JS, maybe. What I would say, JS, is... yeah, I just went to a Venn diagram. I guess all I would say is that I think there are more players who are optimized by playing in a more traditional City game state than whatever the hell... I do need a haircut. Than whatever it is we've been trying to do this season. I meant to go yesterday, but they weren't actually open. I was going to go after the gym before LNobbins, but they weren't open yet, and they're closed on Tuesdays. I'm not going to have any time to go on Wednesday. And I might not have any time to go on Thursday because I'll be at Nobbins', so I'm going to have to wait until Friday, TBH. And it's always busy on a Friday, which is why I never go on a Friday, which is why I'm in this state right now. So I think that we have more players better suited to play like that. The problem is that the activity of late hasn't really gone towards that. It would... So if we go, okay, well, let's pivot to being a bit more direct and a bit more transitional. It's something that I have been alluding to. And if you watch my... Oh, guys, did you watch my off-the-ball video? My immediate reaction after the Spurs game. If you did, let me know what your thoughts are on it, and shall I keep doing those videos? The tactical analysis videos won't go away, but let me know if you enjoyed that, and I'll keep making them. I don't know if you guys like them, though. I appreciate that we didn't win the game, so it's a bit stinky. But let me know if you watched the video, let me know if you enjoyed it, and let me know if you want to keep doing that series. It's called Off the Ball. I like the series. I like the name of the series, sorry. What I said in that video was City are way too malleable and are way too easy to manipulate, depending on what the opponent does. I think it was Spartacus who left a comment saying something like, essentially, it's the difference between being reactive and proactive, which is probably a better way to put it. If you become a side which relies more so on being direct and transitional, then what you end up becoming is this easily manipulated and reactive team. You are no longer in charge of your own destiny. You become overly reliant on what the opponent does. Perhaps this is why a Premier League side hasn't really won the Premier League playing that way since 2017. Nearly a decade. That would have been Conte's Chelsea. Before then, it would have been Leicester, a bit of an outlier. Ever since then, that's not been the case. Even Jurgen Klopp became way more of a control-based manager in that time period when he won the league. He did adapt. And maybe that is the reason, because you become too moldable and you become too easy to play against. And you end up having to respond unnaturally to your opponents. And certainly in an era where like the level of coaching has never been higher and the floor of the Premier League has never been higher, what does that mean? Well, it means that teams like Spurs, managed by Thomas Frank, can do what they did to us on Sunday. basically, where we're not in charge / control of our own destiny, and it's now Spurs who are determining the terms of engagement. That's why I don't like the idea of, shall we go even further down this rabbit hole of moving away from what has worked at City for the past however many years. I'm not saying you can't evolve, you can't change at all. I just don't, as a concept, I don't like what we seem to be becoming. And it remains to be seen. Who knows, of course. This season's not over yet. Maybe those 2 black circles that we outlined earlier, maybe they are just simply the missing pieces, and then it will all make sense to me. Right now, I'm just struggling to see what's going on. And basically what I'm doing right now is I'm airing thoughts that I've been struggling with all season, essentially. If you were here for the John McKenzie stream, we spoke about this at length. I had like a bit of a crisis after the Brighton game, thinking, "Oh my gosh, like, what actually are we? What are we trying to be?" And I still don't know what we're trying to be. I still haven't quite figured that out yet. That's why I keep saying, are City stuck between styles? Are we confused? I don't know. I'm confused as to whether we even are confused. I don't have the answers, to be honest with you. I don't have the answers. Yeah. I just wanted to, like, air my thoughts. Does anyone have a solution that they want to share? Let me know. I don't know what the answer is. If I did, then I would be bald. But I'm not, because I don't. I am very confused, yes. Can we beat Arsenal in the final? Let's get to the final first, though, Puneets. Let's get to that final. Let's beat Newcastle tomorrow. Yeah? Can we ever let go of the possession game? If we do, I'd be very concerned, because that's the philosophy of what has been the club for the past decade or so. I'd be very concerned if we did do that, in all honesty. I'd rather, I don't know if you guys were here for LNobbins, but I would rather we double down on trying to, what was it that Kish said? You can't out Arteta in the same way that you can't out Pep. I don't want us to go down the route of what Arsenal are doing, because I don't think that's a battle we would win. I don't want to go down the route of what the Premier League generally is doing, which is more so an emphasis on the physical element of the game. I don't want us to do that. I want us to be different. I want us to set ourselves apart and have our own destiny. And I think the solution is not to go down the route that we're going. I think the solution is to, I can't remember who was it. Was it Modric? I think I saw like a quote from him the other day saying something like, if you can't out battle the, what was it? If you can't out muscle an opponent, just play intelligent first time quick football in the build-up. I don't know what he said exactly. I'd like us to go down that route more so than what we are doing. It is essentially what I'm trying to say. Doesn't seem like the transfer policy is geared that way, though, and it's probably just something I'm not able to see. But those are my honest thoughts. That's where I'm at with City squad building right now. I'm sure I just can't see the vision. It's hard because we haven't actually brought in the players yet. Niall likes, yeah, exactly. Get the likes up, boys. Don't neglect the thumbs up, says Thunder Road. Come on now. Get it sorted. I'm always confused. City are not stuck between styles. They're trying to play both. Same difference. I don't think we can right now. I don't think we can. I think that it's so far it's, even though we are second, which is nice, so far that the flaws are clearly so extensive. Can I see Foden playing a Bernardo role next season? Maybe. You guys know I have enjoyed his deeper role this season. You guys know I have enjoyed that. Thank you, Puneet, for the super chat. I was confused about the formation we played at Spurs. That was just our classic 3-2-2 that we've been using for the past few games. More one-touch passing in the build-up against the aggressive press is what we need. Yeah. That is good. I agree. Yes, and that requires, and in fairness, that does require having players like Aït-Nouri, so that does make sense. Having a player like Rodri, Bernardo, Foden, yes. Gvardiol, yes. Nunes, no. Probably not. Maybe Kusanov. Maybe more PSG routes based on what they did last year, perhaps. Yes, that might be cute. That might be cute. Again, a little bit easier for them because they were PSG in League Art is very different to City in the Premier League, of course. Just YouTube for these ones, Puneets. I refuse to tune in every week to watch us take corners and throw-ins, says Prot, yes. Need a bit more tiki-taka. Take the ball, pass the ball. There are no profiles on the marketplace. They are physically better at the cost of technicality. No, that's wrong. I can't accept that these players don't exist. I can't accept that this has to happen. I don't think so. No shots. Yeah, and that does require getting a better right back. Yes, I think Aït-Nouri does also help. You're being bullied. Jack, what's going on, mate? What's going on, mate? I'll protect you. Bernardo might not leave this summer, says Twister. I think he probably will, but you never know. Heard Big Steve say Rodri is the issue due to the slow build-up compared to earlier in the season when we had Nico and it was fast attacks. No. I don't agree. Preview when? Oh, sorry, for Newcastle, yeah. We can do that now if you'd like. We can do that now if you would like. We can have a chat about what we think the team will be for tomorrow. Let me know if you guys want us to move on to that, and we can move on to that. Second half versus Spurs worse than first half against United. I think you mean second half versus United. No, the second half against United was probably worse. Probably worse. Do it. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it and to it. Oh. Right, ignore the Spurs players. Ignore them, yeah? They can go away. Right, what's going on? What we saying? So. Newcastle preview team. What are the updates on Shirky? Let's have a little look. I agree, no singular player is the issue. And if you see anyone trying to suggest it's one singular player in outright, then they are wrong, I'm afraid. They are wrong. I don't know how many more games we need to drop points in, because people said it was Savio, and then Savio went out the side, and then they said it's Bernardo, and Bernardo wasn't there for Bodo Glimt, and then they said Foden, and then they said Lewis, and it happens again and again, baby. Okay, what's Pep said? Mikasa has joined Leicester from City on loan to the end of the season. Good loan move for him. He's going to have very limited opportunities now that we are in the latter stages of cup competition, so that's very good. What's Pep said about our players? Gahey. Oh yeah, Gahey's ineligible. That's annoying. Shirky sustained a knock versus Spurs. An assessment will be made on his fitness today. Doku remains unavailable. And I think that's it. So is Semenyo available then? Gahey's not available, but is Semenyo? I'm assuming that he's fine because that wasn't confirmed there. Leave a like on the video, guys. It's free. Help support your boy. Is Naipan ineligible? I have no idea. But surely he's not starting anyway. If he starts, I don't even know what to say. But surely he doesn't start. He is eligible, thank you. Well, maybe he'll be on the bench, but surely he's not starting. Now, what was the team against Newcastle? I think Trafford started. Because it's the League Cup. I'm pretty sure he did. Yes, he did. So it's going to be Trafford. Trafford in goal. So let's just get the players over here. Okay, so who do we have to pick from? We can't have Gahey. We can have Kusanov. We can have Marmoush. We can have Foden. We can have Ake. We can have Reinders. We can have Nico. We can't have Savio. Or we could have Lewis. We can't have... I'm going to say that I'm not going to include Shirky for the purposes of this prediction because is he going to be risked to start considering that we have Anfield and he has a knock? Seems unlikely he would start the game. So I'm going to suggest that he's not going to be starting. Trafford's obviously going to be starting, you'd assume. So we've got these players to pick from. But no Shirky, Doku, Savio, Diaz, Elaine, Gavardio, Stones, or Kovacic. I'm not going to predict Don. Gahey's not included either. Diaz might be available. He's not going to start, though, is he? Surely. Surely not. Surely not. Who knows? But I'm not going to predict that. So, who do we have at the back? Who are the options in defence? We have quite a few options, despite the absences. So, centre-backs, we have Kusanov, who's obviously going to start. And then we've got Ake, and that's literally it. Oh, well, we've got Elaine, I suppose. Elaine could also be a thing. Of course it did, Jamo, yeah. We could have Elaine. I'm not going to predict Elaine to start, though. I'm going to predict Kusanov and Ake again. That's what I am going to predict. Even though Elaine did start the first leg, in fairness. But that's not what I'm going to predict. I'm going to predict, I think, Ait-Nouri and Nunes again. Because Ait-Nouri went off... I don't think Ait-Nouri went off with an injury, though, did he? Against Spurs? He went off in the 70th minute. So he had 20 minutes to chill. So I think I'm going to predict that as my back four. I know we're 2-0 up, but it is still a semi-final at the end of the day. So I'm going to predict us to go quite strong. Because it is still a semi-final and we need to win it. So I am going to still go for that. It's not like these players are shattered and need a rest. Like, they're doing fine. They're doing fine. So I'm not going to predict Lewis to start based on that. O'Reilly might be featuring in midfield somewhere. Who do we have now? We've got Rodri. We have Nico. Now, the good news is that there is no Bruno Guimaraes and there is no Gillinton for Newcastle. That's good. That's very good. That means that we should actually win the midfield battle. They do still have Tonali, who's a good player, of course, but no Bruno G and no Gillinton is a massive miss for them. So that's something to note. So who are our options in the centre? We've realistically got these players, and then we've got these players as our forwards. I might be predicting another 4-2-2 because we played it 3 games in a row. So I'm thinking we could play another 4-2-2. So we need to pick 2 out of these 3 forwards based on that, and we need to pick 4 out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players. So we need to pick 4 out of these 6. Also considering that we have Anfield on the weekend, which is annoying. Gillinton lives rent-free in my head. This is delightful news. Yes, let's think of the more reserved midfielders. Realistically, who are those options going to be? I don't know. O'Reilly might be a bit more advanced, actually, probably. This is how I'm going to break it down. I think that we pick 2 from these 3. I think we pick 2 from these 3. And I think we pick 2 from these 3. These are the deeper midfielders. These are the more advanced midfielders. These are the 2 strikers. I'm going to predict 4-2-2. So what do we think we will go to predict the more defensive side, first of all? Do we want to rest Rodri for Anfield? He played the full 90 against Spurs. Bernardo played the full... Oh, sorry. Bernardo played 88 against Spurs, so he basically played all game. And Nico came on. And that was that Nico's first appearance since his injury? Yes, it was. Yeah, because he got... Did he get injured against Brighton? Or did he just come off? I don't know. But either way, apart from playing 8 minutes against Galatasaray, he hasn't really had a game since then. Could this be a nice game for Nico to start? To get him back to full sharpness? Nico needs game time. I am thinking that he came on against Spurs. He played 20 minutes. Looks all right. I think I'm going to predict this. Therefore, I think I want to predict Nico and Bernardo as my double in midfield. That's what I'm going to predict. My defensive duo. Okay, now we have to pick 2 out of these 3 players here. We have Reinders, we have Foden, we have Nico O'Reilly as the more offensive players. O'Reilly started against Spurs. Foden and Reinders obviously did not. Reinders came on with 20 minutes to go. Foden came on in the 90th minute. Or thereabouts. So what do we think here? Instinctively, I'm thinking these 2 to start. Because then you got a lefty on the left and a righty on the right. Or I suppose you could have Foden here and Nico O'Reilly there. You've got a lot of left footers in this midfield if you do that. 3/4 of your midfield are left footers. So I don't know how I feel about that. I want to predict this. You guys know I like symmetry. Now I have 2 left footers on my left side. I have 2 right footers on my right side. I'm going to predict that. Yes, I like that. I do like that quite a lot. And now we have to pick 2 out of these 3. Pick up the lefties. We've got Semenyo. We've got Erling. And we've got Marmoush. what are we saying out of these? The question is Haaland going to have a rest or not for Anfield? Or is Pep just going to say, fuck it, you're going to play again? We are 2-0 up. I know we're 2-0 up against Spurs. I do wonder, is Haaland a player you bring on if you need to? And do you start with what we did against Wolves, which was that? And in fact, that is what I'm actually going to predict. There we go. That's what I'm going for. We're 2-0 up. It's the second leg of the semi-final. Still a very strong team. There's not much leeway for rotation. Realistically, there's only, out of what, the 10 outfield players, there's maybe 13 choices. So it's not like there's many options for us to go with. So I think I'm going to go with that. If we continue with this 4-3-2. That's what I'm going to go for. That's what I'm going for. I'm locking it in. That's safe. That's safe. What do you guys reckon, though? Evan, shut up, mate. Strong team, says Kobe. Switch Bernardo for O'Reilly. I suppose you could. Absolutely, you could. I'm not going to predict that, though. Other Nico starts over Bernard. Other than that, same lineup I had. Bernardo to be rested. Maybe he should be. But I'm not going to predict that. No Haaland right back. Where is this coming from? I start Naipan over Foden. That's a comment. Okay. Should be a comfortable 2-0 win. Don't say that, Naveen. Don't say that. Any major Marmouche minutes. I've predicted him to start. Whereas McAdoo on the bench. Probably. Yeah, I'd be amazed if Naipang does anything for City this season. He was playing in Borough's reserves. So I don't think that's going to be a thing. I don't know what happened at the end, but he was playing for like their under-21 team or something. I don't really know what was going on there. We'll have to work on stretching out Tonali, make sure he has to run and chase. That would be the job of Reinders, I suppose, with his runs. Because Jefferson, people have short memories and are petulant. Every chance of a horror show tomorrow. There's every chance of a horror show whenever City play. Yeah, okay, GJ, you're definitely a human. Definitely not a bot. Pep Blunders to take over after Pep completes his contract of 2027. How would you feel? That won't happen, Taron. Yeah, Bar as yeah. I'm not even including Bar. That's why he was not even included in the thing. How worried do we get if they score in the first 20 minutes? Probably very worried, to be honest. 0 out of 10 rage bait. Sorry, W rage bait. But Trafford will have a bad game. Why? He's had one bad moment, and that was against Spurs. Outside of that, he's been very good for us. That seems like a weird thing to predict. It can't be something based on precedent anyway. Surely not. Shirky has got a knock twister, so I'm not predicting him to start. No creativity in the midfield for tomorrow. W rage bait. I think I'm just going to start saying that from now on, guys. To like comments that I deem foolish. What do you guys reckon? Is that a W move by your boy? W rage bait. Newcastle without Bruno G and Gillington is a very different side. 100%. 100%. Tonali or Anderson as your preference? Anderson for me, Larry. Homegrown, innit? Homegrown's a thing. Lineup is risky. Is it? I don't think it's that risky. I don't think it's that risky. Who's not playing? I guess Haaland and Rodri aren't playing, so I guess that's the risk, but you can always bring them on. I don't think it's risky at all. I think that this team should be enough to win. I think that's fine. It's not like I filled it with academy players. It's not like I filled it with Heskey and McAdoo and all these lads. Listen to Mini Nobbins, guys. Like the video. It's not like I'm starting Lewis in midfield or anything. I'm starting like the senior players. I think that's fair. Ake is a risk. Well, it's Ake or Elaine, I guess. That's the thing. It's Ake or Elaine. That's the choice. I don't think there's that much of a difference between the two, in all honesty. Hard to disagree, Natando. Can Bruno break the assist record? Nah. What's he on right now? Pep Sarcasm is legendary. That's my boy. W Mini Nobbins. Yeah, Rage Bait can be fun. It's just like... just boring sometimes. That's why I'm just going to start saying that. Just know, guys, if I say W Rage Bait to a comment, what I'm actually saying is I think you're a moron, just an FYI. Just in case that had to be translated. But, you know, it's a polite way of saying it. But everyone knows that's what I'm thinking. Just as you guys can tell, over the past few months, I've learnt to just be more chill and calm and just be like, I'm not going to get upset. There's no point. It's just more fun to talk to act like this. It's easier for me. And I've been much happier since, I can't lie. I don't think so, Tahiti, because Trafford started the first leg. So I'm going to predict Trafford to start. It is therapy, yeah, literally. I didn't even go see a professional. Just had an epiphany. Ranged Nobbins ain't going any... It's not happening. I had way too much of that last season, and I said, I'm not going to have that this season, and I fell into my old ways. It's not happening again. It's not happening again. Let's do this from now on. W Rage Bait, guys. I think Phone should play a false 9, says James Joseph. Yeah, I guess that could be a thing for a cup game. What do you think we should do to get him in a better position to succeed given his current form? What I would do, generally, is I would say this. Well, first of all, if there are any injuries, because does he have a broken hand or something? But the second thing I would do is this. Stop moving him around would be the first suggestion. Because it's not even to do with like the position, it's also the role as well, which I think is weird. Because if you're Faisal W Rage Bait. If you got a player, but you're playing them in one position of the pitch, but you're still giving them the same task, you're still giving them the same function in the side, then there's not that much of an excuse for what are they doing. So let's take Savio, for example. His role on the left is nothing like his role on the right. Like, at all. It's a very different role and a very different function. I think that's one of the reasons why he's not able to necessarily be that consistent. I think it's also why Doku, when we just like shove him out to the touchline, he's not been able to be as effective because we were giving him a run of games in the center, and now it's just not happened. I think the same thing is probably the same reasoning could be applied to improve any player, not just for. I understand the questions about Foden. So that would be my first port of call. Make the role incredibly consistent, rather than okay. Against Bournemouth, you are going to be playing as a more deeper midfielder. Your job is to connect the play in deeper areas and that sort of thing. A couple weeks later, okay, against Crystal Palace, your job is to be the main left winger and the chief outlet on that left side. What? That's a very different temperament that's required. Are you sure? Okay, I was just like doing this role and doing really well at it. Are you sure? That's going to confuse me. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, now your role is to be one of the number 10s. So now you need to be always like finding the striker and occupying the pockets. That's another different role to what I was asked to do. Are you sure? I mean, okay. That would be the first suggestion I would say. Just make everything really consistent. To not. That's a good point. Yeah, the Arsenal one. Okay, now you're going to be playing right wing back. I mean, I'll do it. You're not going to get the best out of me, but fine, I'll do it. That's what I would like to see first of all, because the best performances occurred when there was consistency in the role that he was given and the position he was being played in. So that's what I would say first of all, is to just do that, like week on week on week on week. It must be very challenging because this is the first season where he's been tasked with playing more so as a number 8, and that's when he was one of our best players. That's when he was one of the best players in the league. So it must be challenging to learn how to do that in a vacuum. Never mind, okay, you're learning this new role, which is a totally different temperament to all the other roles you've been played in your whole City career, basically. But so learn this now. This is the new standard. Okay, I'm doing that. I'm thriving at it. I've got loads of fantastic performances. Okay, now do this. But that's totally a different tempo and style of play and way of thinking. But we do know his best position at Ando. It's in the centre. It's in midfield. Just keep playing him there. I'm just saying that if the question is what is happening, because he has been nowhere near the level of what he was in January compared to what he was December and before. Apart from maybe the Newcastle game. I think that could be a solution. There's only so much utility that we can squeeze out of a player before you're just like limiting them and going, I don't actually know what I'm supposed to be anymore as a player. What is going on? Especially if it's a new role. I feel like he must be a little bit confused as to what like Pep's asking. And that's on Pep, by the way. That's Guardiola's fault. So yeah. I don't know. I actually think the opposite. I think that because I was really enjoying what we were doing to Foden to accommodate Shirky, i.e. playing him deeper. I think that was to his benefit. I think he was thriving. Fireball makes a good point. The Doku injury did shaft Foden a little bit because then Pep decided that the best solution was to play Foden where Doku was playing. That did shaft him a little bit, of course. Going away from the 2-3s also shafted Foden. And yeah. And also how we are playing this season has not been to his benefit either. With those Venn diagrams that we did earlier. So, yes, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. There's no doubt there's been a drop-off in January. People overreact because we know that the world is full of reactive people. The conclusion is after a bad month, you need to sell him. The conclusion is that he's a one-season wonder. We know that's foolish, of course. I think I said it last year as well. Do you really think that all of these players have become shit overnight? And the answer to that, if you're a sensible human being, is no. There's got to be a reason for something. I need to get better at analysis, and I think sometimes my analysis can be quite surface level, and I'm trying to get better at that. But at the end of the day, one is descriptive, i.e. this is happening. Okay, that's cute, but now let's address why. That's why I liked the question from Fenway. It's like, why is this happening? Not just shouting into the ether and going, this has happened, we need to do yeah. That's not helpful. That's not helpful at all. That's not what this channel is built on. That's not what this channel will ever be either. The whole point of this channel is to try to actually answer the question rather than just shout and scream and try to reinforce people's easy outs, is what I'm trying to say. It's easy to be mad and shout and scream and cry. But how productive is that? It isn't. Right, I'm yapping now. We've been live for over 90 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up there. Any final questions or thoughts before we shoot off? Because I have been yapping. I mean, I've been yapping for 90 minutes, but I feel like I've been properly yapping the past few minutes. Hey, these shows descend into philosophical, theological suggestions. Yeah, in it, Fenway. In it. Just, guys, they and that's why I don't like saying, they just, even though I do actually believe the Spurs second half was an example of that in some instances, but generally speaking, this is why we hate buzz phrases on this channel. This is why we mock people when they come in and say terms like, take it by the scruff of the neck, or step up, or want it more, or the desire, or motivation, that sort of thing. Sometimes it is that straightforward. Sometimes it can be that. Generally speaking, though, it isn't. And that's why we go away from that on this channel. I'll be live on Twitch tonight. Twitch.tv/LNobbins. We are going to be doing two things, guys. We are going to be watching the Arsenal semi-final against Chelsea. So hopefully we can get a cheeky Chelsea win for that one, because if we do get to the final, I'd rather we play Chelsea than the Arse. So make sure to join me on the Twitch, because we're going to be doing a bit of a watch along for that. But we're also going to be playing Football Manager at the same time. So we're going to be doing a little bit of both. Will there be a Valentine's Day stream? Do we play on Valentine's Day? We do. We play Salford, yes. We will be streaming that. How am I going to watch that? I bet that's not on TV either. Is that on TV? Don't go anywhere, guys. Thank you for following the Twitch, Punny. Love that from you. The game will be shown live on BBC One. Get in. Can we get a big up for the women's team? Oh, let's have a... What is the table saying? Women's Super League table. Are we winning? Oh, God, we are well ahead. Yes, girls. Well done. My queens. Excellent work. The men's team can learn a thing or two. Yeah? Excellent work, guys. Look at that. There's just a team called London. Who are they? London City Lionesses. I've never heard of that team. I like the badge. Cool. Well, we are 11 points clear of second place. Man United. Hold that. Hold that. Yeah, no draws, one loss. Lads, learn a thing or two. Please. Learn a thing or two. Come on. Lock in. Lock in. I am a Glory supporter, and I will pivot if you're not careful. Eh? Eh? Oh dear, I said I was going to go, and yet I'm still yapping. That's crazy. Yeah, we'll be live on Twitch tonight, watching the Arsenal-Chelsea game, and streaming some Football Manager, Cork City. So please join me tonight. The Twitch streams are really fun. They're great live as well. If you're watching them on the replay, you are missing out by not watching them live, because you guys get to help me with transfer decisions. You also get to mock me live and get involved in the conversation. And if you want to learn more about me as just an individual human, then the Twitch is the better platform for that. So please make sure to join me over there tonight. Shout out to all of my beautiful supporters on Patreon and all of my beautiful supporters on the YouTube membership. The links to support are in the video description. As always, shout out to all of these people who help keep the lights on, etc., etc. I love them very much. Thank you so much. Look at all these cuties in the Hall of Fame. Look at them go. Yeah. Look at them go. And I'll see you tonight over on Twitch. Yes, for Arsenal, Chelsea, and Football Manager. Shout out to all of you for watching my Yap Sesh. Hope you got some value out of it. There were lots of caveats today, but I hope you got some value out of it. And I'll catch you all tonight on Twitch.